Well, it depends who the executor and trustee are. I mean, generally, if it's a family member, they're not going to charge the family for providing either of those services. If you pick somebody other than family, whether it's a friend, whether it's an accountant, a lawyer, a bank, then they can charge fees. Generally, executive fees are statutory. There's like schedules that are established that determine how much an executor should get paid. It's usually scaled based on the size of your estate. It's a higher percentage on a smaller amount of assets. As your assets get bigger, it scales down. A trustee, generally, it's 1% of the assets that they're getting paid. That's a normal trustee fee. And that could be above and beyond a fee that anybody's getting to manage the assets. So if you pick your accountant or your lawyer as a trustee and they're charging you 1% of the assets in the trust, but then they're also allowing somebody to manage those assets, some money manager, they go to a Merrill Lynch or whoever it is, that manager then is charging a fee as well. So there could end up being two fees charged, one by the manager and also one by the trustee. In the case of an executor, outside of the executor fee, if being charged, again, if the money's being managed by somebody, that charge would also be on top of whatever the executor would be charging you. A corporate trustee is generally a bank or a trust company. You have companies like, U.S. Trust, Wilmington Trust. Some of the major brokerage houses have trust companies, Merrill Lynch. The purpose of choosing a corporate trustee is you take away conflict. Because when you're trying to pick a trustee, it gets very complicated. Let's say I have, multiple children and I'm leaving assets to all of my kids. Am I picking all of my kids as trustee? And then every decision that needs to be made by the trust needs to get all of the trustees to agree on something. Or if the trust says a majority of the trustees could make a decision, then it could end up placing certain children against other children. Or you pick one of your kids as a trustee, and then they could end up having fights with their brothers or sisters. Or a child could be a trustee and they end up having conflict with their mother. Or it could be a second spouse that they have conflict with. If you pick an accountant or attorney as a trustee, the concern is they may favor the kids that were involved in the business that they were closer with, and there could end up being litigation against them by the other beneficiaries because they feel that trustee is favoring certain beneficiaries over another. When you pick a corporate trustee, you kind of take that all out of the equation. They're an institution. They have no favorites. They're going to make decisions either based on the directions of the deceased family or based on what they see being the proper direction to take with kids. So the benefit is you have a neutral party and a party that can't die, because even if you're picking, Bill at the trust company to work with you, if Bill leaves, you could always transfer it to a different trust company, or you could stay with that trust company and it just continues. So the benefit is continuity, it's neutrality, it's expertise. The negatives are they do charge fees. So where you may have been able to pick a trustee that wouldn't charge a fee, they're charging fees. They're going to generally manage the assets. They're not necessarily going to be objective and have the assets going out to whoever they think would be the best to manage the assets. They're going to probably manage it in-house. And they're very impersonal. So like if the kids are not comfortable with them, they're going to be very, very rigid as to how they operate, because they're going to be so careful as to not get sued, because that's their job. They are a professional trustee. So they're not going to be able to say, well, I didn't really understand that would be something that I shouldn't have done. They're going to be held to the highest standards.